Cape Town, South Africa.
I noticed that you don't talk to any of the local inhabitants in any of the places you visit or live. Did you have any relationships with any African people in Africa? I didn't see a single black person, not even in the background.
I have never wanted my YouTube channel to resemble an academic lecture. I want to give it to you raw. I want to, whether it's my daughter watching this or mine, it's something else that I'm really going for here. I'm not trying to reproduce what you get in a business meeting or an academic lecture. No, you shouldn't curse all the time. You shouldn't be out of control. You shouldn't be insulting to people all the time. But there's a time and a place for those things too. And that's all part of the rough and tumble of life.
So many of you guys have recommended this place, and I'm super excited to try it. And we are also here with my friend Jurgen. He messaged me on Instagram yesterday. And he was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're in Cape Town. He's like, he was like, I'm going to Florida next week. Like, I have to meet you guys. I was like, yes, like, let's go to lunch. So now we're here, and we're gonna have some lunch.
Please consider taking an interest in local languages, politics, history and culture, in Bali or anywhere else. Maybe start by at least reading the local newspaper, in English.
If you read historical nonfiction, or even historical fiction, you'll see that one of the most striking differences between the world before the internet was invented and the world after is that in the past, the great mass of humanity really had no idea how wealthy people lived. It's routine to see in medieval and even Renaissance literature from all over the world the sentiment that the poor suffer less because they do not even know what luxuries they're missing out on. They cannot even imagine the foods the wealthy eat, the beds they sleep on, so on and so forth. There was a time when it was routine for even people's household servants to sleep directly on the kitchen floor while they, the masters, the house owners, were sleeping in a feather bed. And of course, with the invention of the photograph, with the invention of silent black and white cinema, for the first time, the poor could lay eyes on the lives of aristocrats, the lives of wealthy millionaires, the lives of captains of industry. And we now live in an era when, especially through YouTube and Instagram, the packaged appearance of wealth and luxury is something that both allows the wealthy to normalize their own lives of self-indulgence and allows the poor, the middle class, to vicariously experience something of this kind of aimless wealth. If you look at a figure like Bruce Wayne really is the villain in Batman. Batman can beat up the Joker. Batman can put the Penguin in prison. Batman can chase down poor people in alleyways who are trying to snatch a purse, trying to steal money to buy a loaf of bread. But the one enemy Batman can never defeat is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is the true villain of Batman, just as much as in the Superman comics, it's the multimillionaire Lex Luthor. But you know, the image of idle wealth represented by the Bruce Wayne character, and even the image of predatory millionaire businessman presented by Lex Luthor, really is much more positive than what I see with people like Maddie Lymburner today. Bruce Wayne, he was always going to a charity ball. He was always doing charity events of one kind or another. The humanitarian element, even of Bruce Wayne's life, was really a significant recurring trope. It really is strangely on the nose. It strangely takes this symbolic problem and makes it self-evidently ridiculously real. That when you watch the YouTube videos of Maddie Lymburner in Africa, there were no Africans. There were no black people anywhere. Not even in the backgrounds of her videos. She goes to the beach, but she doesn't go to a beach where you'd know that you were in Africa. And of course, for the most part, what those videos are showing you is a life of luxury that is to a surreal extent cut off from the social and political reality of what Africa is today. And I am sure she does the same with Thailand or any other country she visits. Just now, she's arrived in Bali, Indonesia. And I left a comment on her video. I made a suggestion. I said, look, when I'm watching your videos filmed in Africa, I can't even tell that they're in Africa. Did you have any relationships with any African people, with black people in Africa? Did you have any conversations with them? Did you talk to them? I could add here, did you maybe read a newspaper? Did you have any contact with the unfolding history of Africa? Did you go to a museum and see even art objects from the distant past? Or did you have any contact with history as it now unfolds in Africa today? Now that you've arrived in Indonesia, would you consider making the effort to have some kind of positive contact with the culture, the language, the history, even if that were just reading the local newspaper? All these countries will have at least one or two newspapers in English, even Indonesia, believe me. Maybe not a newspaper specifically for Bali, but for Indonesia as a whole, sure. It was interesting for me to see across the internet a widespread complaint, a widespread lament that Logan Paul went to Japan and didn't have any meaningful contact with the culture. Now, what was surprising or mind-blowing to me about this is just that it's Logan Paul. Logan Paul is a comedian. He's an ex-vegan comedian. He was vegan for only a couple of months. And his style of comedy is very lowbrow. If there is one person on earth I would not expect to have a meaningful connection with Japanese culture when he goes on vacation in Japan, it would be Logan Paul. But it's also true that Logan Paul is very much in this mirrored box situation where people look at him as a symbol either of a lifestyle they aspire to have, a life that is not just of wealth, but of completely aimless self-indulgence once they have that wealth. And they also use it to affirm their own values, their own life having no ambition to make the world a better place, no ambition to help others, no ambition to learn, no ambition for self-improvement, no ambition to be a better person oneself even. This ambitionless life of self-indulgence at the highest level of luxury available to you at your salary, at your income, or given your inheritance. It's true, Logan Paul also represents that. And someone like Maddie Lymburner, I don't think she set out meaning to represent that. I think she probably just got into a series of steps one after the other with, I think her goal was to have very low body fat and very high muscle mass. And she sells some really expensive PDFs. You can pay $39.99. Let me just check here. Let me get my numbers straight. You can pay a lot of money for a book that is not even on paper. So I'm sorry, $35.50 is her ebook. $35.50 Canadian. I used to work in the publishing industry. In publishing, the publisher would be considered like a very generous publisher. It'd be considered a prince if you gave the author 10% of the ticket price. So 10% of the price when the book left the warehouse, when it left the publisher. So most authors of real books on paper are getting less than 10% of the value of the price on the cover. You're not even, if you pay $35.50 for her to send you this PDF, send you this ebook, it's a lot of money in her pocket. That's her business strategy. That's what she wanted to do. But I think what she ended up doing, step by step, probably just partly because of the format of a website like Instagram, what kind of behavior is rewarded, what gets you popularity, attention. She's become another one of the true villains of 21st century capitalism. She's become another Bruce Wayne. And unlike Bruce Wayne, I don't think that when she turns the lights out and turns off the camera, that she turns into Batman. I don't think she turns into somebody with a social conscience trying to make the world a better place. And I'm making this video ultimately because I hope she will. I hope you will too, whoever you are watching this.